To meet the high demand for burns, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources hires crews from the nonprofit Conservation Corps, which engages young people in outdoor service and job training. In late September, Molly Tranel Nelson, who manages DNR Natural Resources in southern Minnesota, invited us on a prescribed burn with Conservation Corps burn boss Doug Ekstrom and his crew of 5. When we arrive, the crew is preparing to set fire to 14 acres in a bison enclosure at Minneopa State Park near Mankato. The park includes original remnant prairie, where sumac has taken over after 20 years of no burns. It was also thick with brome, an exotic grass with a thick duff layer that pheasant chicks can't run through. By burning that litter layer, it will open up travel paths for young birds to feed on insects and seeds. Fire has restored prairies for thousands of years, set by lightning or Native Americans. When European settlers arrived and put out the fires, invasive species gradually took hold.
Historically, prairie fire was a normal occurrence, so we're reenacting nature, so to speak. The goal is to restore a prairie site, maybe reduce some of the native species that are invading. It also helps rejuvenate some of the native plant species that are in the area and returns nutrients to the soil. So we have some different grasses here, this little blue stem. You know, some of this is, you just, to the touch, it feels like it's drying, almost a paper texture to it. So ideally a good burn will burn, of course, these standing fuels down to the duff and burn down to the black dirt. We had to wait a time today for the conditions to get right. It's been a real wet summer and early fall here, so the ground is still pretty saturated. So ideally when we come back after the burn, we'll be able to kick the ash and see that there's no remaining duff and it's a complete burn all the way to the ground. Typically, we're very cognizant of weather forecasts. We watch that 2 to 3 days in advance so we know when conditions may be right. We consider everything from wind direction, wind speed, relative humidity, forecasts. Typically if the weather's going to change dramatically or if there's, of course, rain or overcast conditions, we try and target a prescription temperature-wise and relative humidity-wise, wind speed, those types of things are what we consider.
Every fire must be supervised by a burn boss who goes through extensive training. Crew members also receive specialized training and complete a week-long course, including a physical test, and are Red Card certified to burn.
We work with the Conservation Corps crews quite a bit, and since they're young, strapping people, we put bladder bags on them, which are just backpacks full of water. And there's a hose at the end that has a special nozzle so that it uses a small amount of water at a high velocity. So if you think about if you have to haul your own water in, you don't want to use a lot of water on a fire, but you want to put that fire out with a lot of pressure.
Fire is dangerous, and only Doug, Molly, and experienced crew member Casey carry torches.
We have what's called a drip torch. It's a combination of diesel fuel and gasoline. Gasoline, of course, is the igniter and the diesel fuel is the carrier. It's a mixture of about 2/3 diesel to 1/3 gasoline. Basically drips the fuel from the torch, has a wick on the end to keep the torch ignited, drops fuel on the ground and lays the fire line.
Doug and Molly ignite fire on each side of the burn strip, and Casey drips fuel on brush that doesn't ignite as easily as dry grass. Molly is on the downwind side, so she first burns a black line, a burned strip that contains the fire. A utility vehicle with a water pump and hose runs along the side of the black line to make sure the fire is contained. Crews also use a flapper, basically a rubber piece on a broom handle to smother fire on the edges. Doug and Molly communicate via two-way radios throughout the burn to make sure the fire is controlled and conditions are safe.
My role as burn boss is to be cognizant of what's going on both sides, what conditions are, how volatile is the fire, have wind directions changed or wind speed changed that we need to consider as far as placing crew members.
This is Molly. Casey sent a strip around these oak trees so we wouldn't burn through them and get to the sunny side where the fire went better. Doug, this is Molly. We're moving again now.
Copy that.
It is burning really hot over here.
Do you have enough bodies? I could send Sam over if you need an extra body.
We're good now that we're using the wet line. We were getting some fire on the line, but now the wind's shifting back.
Copy that.
Because of recent rains, a few patches of thick brome are not taking to the fire, but the little blue stem burns hot. The warm season grass is a good fuel because it evolved as a fire-dependent species. Its root systems plunge to 8 or 9 foot depths, so while the grass we see above ground burns away, the roots underneath are getting stronger and green shoots will appear early next spring. The restored habitat will not only be ideal for pheasants, rare Henslow sparrows, loggerhead shrikes, and upland sandpipers are coming back to the prairie.
Next year, I expect this to look gorgeous with little blue stem, and a lot of the prairie forbs require fire, and they'll really bloom great that next year afterwards. So it should look really nice next year, especially if we set back some of the sumac.
Mission accomplished. Molly and Doug met their goal of reducing about 80% of the litter layer and setting back the sumac. Every time they burn the patch again, ideally every 3 to 5 years, it should burn a little better.